So today is going to be a developer AMA with a guest appearance from Sunbear and Dreamer. Oh, there's Dreamer as I say his name. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a state of the project from Frisky Fox.
Great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. Yeah, another week. We always kind of joke internally that the weeks here feel like months and the months feel like years. And it's very true because there's so many things that happen each week. We are continuing to grow our team. We've added a few people to our team. We have a new Solidity dev. We have a new marketing lead and a couple other things. Oh yeah, a project manager who is really experienced that will help to make sure that we're all on the same page as well. And we also did some reorganization of our team as well this week. We've been continuing to grow since the very start of this project. We started with like 4 people and grew to, like I think we've got close to 50 members of our team now, and about 35 knights as well. So we have a very large team because we have very ambitious plans for this project. Like we want to be the premier GameFi out there, and I think we're like well on our way there at this point. So with that in mind, we did see the need to kind of continually change our organization throughout those periods of growth, and we have decided at this point that it makes a lot of sense for us to kind of create 2 sections of our project team. Uh, One that is kind of like trying to focus more on building, so like the stuff with dev, and the other side to try to have their priority be more about growth, so marketing and biz dev and things. So we kind of changed that up a little bit to ensure that nobody had too much on their plates, so that we're able to work, maybe like 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week and be able to reasonably expect that we're able to get everything done that we need to. So basically trying to bring more people up and empower more people to help with that. So I'm going to be sharing a image in the voiceless chat that kind of shows how things look right now. I just put that in. And so this helps to sort of illustrate this new setup where it's trying to basically say, okay, let's have one wing that's just basically focusing on growth, marketing, creative, community, events, and like grants and things like that. And then have like the stuff with the game creation and the front end and the back end and the Solidity and stuff with the API over on the other end. And I think with this new partnership there, or not partnership, but sort of like organization, that will allow us to more effectively stay so that all of us can kind of really try to just basically focus on the areas that we can provide the most help on at that time. So with this in mind, we also promoted, I don't really like to use the word promoted because he was already doing all these things, but Dreamer is in charge of the growth side of things and he is the president. And then I will be the executive director in charge of stuff over there with the creation side of things. So congrats to Dreamer. I've seen a ton of people saying Dreamer for president. Well, you guys got your wish there. And he's amazing. And I'm really excited to see how this will translate into our growth into this new year. So really excited about that. Just wanted to share that briefly. Other things from the state of the project, there's a lot going on. We launched lands last week, huge thing. A ton of effort went into that from Beetle Dude and Cinnamon Bun and Purple Onion and Mr. Fawn as well. He's our Solidity manager. So a ton of work went into that, and it was really cool to see that. We also launched the land auctions, or like the land sale board, basically on Friday, sort of a surprise thing there. We had originally intended to perhaps even wait until this Wednesday for that, but Beetle Dude was able to get that done early and had that get pushed out. So excited about that. And we do have some more things that are coming with lands in terms of how it will look on the map, probably adding like names to them and stuff like that. So it's easier to see instead of just a number. And it'll just be sort of iterating on. And then, as you guys know, there's other lands there as well that haven't been claimed yet. So adding the ability for those to be competed for basically will be coming soon as well. So really awesome milestone there that we got done. And I think that's basically the state of things right now. I'm sure there's many, many things that I've missed, like 80K members now over here on Discord, and probably a handful of others as well. But that's kind of what I wanted to share. So I'll turn the time back over to Bola. I think we had a announcement from Sunbear and Dreamer that they wanted to also present.
Yes, yes, indeed. Real quick, I forgot to give my normal reminder at the beginning. Once we get through some of the questions that have been submitted over the course of the last week, we are going to pull some people on stage to ask live questions. If you do have a question that you want to ask live, please raise your hand. You can do that whenever you're ready. Oh, there's a bunch of you. But my one ask is if you raise your hand and your question gets answered, please remove your hand raise so that we don't pull people up on stage for nothing so that we can answer more questions. With that, yes, Dreamer and Sunbear have a exciting announcement for us.
Yeah, I'll kick us off, then hand it over to Sunbear. So we talked about a number of programs that are in progress. Today we're going to give an update on the grant program. This is something that has been in focus. We see so much talent within the community, so many projects that people think about doing, don't necessarily have all the desired funding to do so. When we're in discussions with partners or others in the community, they ask like, "Hey, are you threatened by other people potentially like using your NFTs or building around DeFi kingdoms?" And the answer is no. This is an open invitation to everybody out there. You like DeFi kingdoms, you like the NFTs, you like the heroes, you like the NFTs to come, and by way of equipment, you like the bloaters, all of our tokens. Build around it, build on top of it, and submit a proposal for a grant. And we just might pay you to do so and work with you to make it as successful as possible. So, if you're a coder, if you're an innovator, if you have good ideas and you want to contribute to this community, we now have a program that we are going to be listening and processing and including the community to make it a reality. So I hope everybody feels excited about that. And I'm going to hand it over to Sunbear for a few of the details of the proposal and the program.
All right, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes. So we are here. We are at grant program time. Thank you, Dreamer, for that introduction. It is exciting. I am your sun bear here to help you get your grants and your dreams to come true. So we are going to post all this information out this afternoon. So you'll see it pop up on all our social media. There will be a document that you can, or a website that you can link to or go to and see all the details of what it's about. We just basically want to really inspire innovation around anything connected to the project, connected to the community to enrich your experience, and of course to the blockchain experience overall. And so we're excited about this process. And I'm going to be just working with folks through this whole thing. So you're going to be able to click on a link, fill out an application, give us your information, your ideas, who's on your team, what you're really looking to do, what you need to be able to do it. And then we will get to the point where the community actually needs to vote to make sure that's what they want to have happen with these grants. So the community can support you in that process, and then we'll work through it. So just really excited about it. I'm going to be working closely with all these folks, just like we have with the bounties and everything. Watch for that today, and just know Sunbear's got you. We're gonna make some fun stuff happen.
And just to add a couple of details there, between the filling out the application and the vote, there will be kind of an internal review, and then we're going to have the proposal when it's refined posted in Discord as a thread, where then the community can review it, get comfortable with it, discuss before the vote occurs. So we don't want to rush any of that process. The process might be refined over time and maybe adjust here and there, but to start, that's how we're envisioning it happening. You apply, internal review, post it on Discord, community reviews, comments, and then we have a vote to see if the proposed grant amount is awarded.
Absolutely. We're all about transparency, and the community will see everything through this process. So thank you, Dreamer, for clarifying that.
Fantastic. Thank you both, and we appreciate you being here and sharing that news with us. We're excited to see that rolling out. And as Sunbear said, y'all can expect to see more information on that coming today and then in the future as it continues to develop. So, with that, I'm actually going to turn back over to Fox. I think he had a couple other things that he wanted to just blanketly address, more or less. So, Fox, if you wanted to go ahead and cover that.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about the grant program. That is a thing that since the very, very start we have envisioned being able to do, and it's been a long time coming, and we've put a lot of thought and a lot of work into this, and I'm excited because I've always like really liked the Harmony style grant program. Avalanche had one they did with Avalanche Rush, and you see a bunch of other chains that are doing that as well. And we are at that point where like we want to do the same type of thing. Like we want to incentivize people to build around this ecosystem that we are creating. And there's already a lot of really great tools out there like Kingdom Watch and DFK Tracker and some of these others that could also qualify for like more of those grants in the future as well. So with that said, let's see other things that I wanted to address. Do you wanted to prompt me on any of that over there, Bolin?
Certainly. The first was just any clarification on the like botting situation and our statement last week on that.
Yes, definitely. I had probably about 20 DMs about that from like a lot of different people who were concerned about, is this something that will be retroactive? A lot of them said, you know what, we agree, this is a good policy, it's a good direction. We don't want to have just a bunch of bots playing our game. We want to have real people. However, they were concerned about how that will be rolled out. And the answer is no. Like, we're not going to create a policy and then retroactively enforce it. That's not what we're about. Up until now, we've had sort of a more like ambivalent stance on it, and like at this point, we're looking at trying to roll out a new scholarship program in the near future to try to uh, allow players to enter at a lower barrier to entry, and allow those that don't have any assets really to still be able to play our game and earn it. And so in order to make things like that work, we do have to have stronger I guess policies against things like botting, and sort of have everyone in the community agree that like we would like to create an ecosystem where that is not something that regularly happens. And it's not so much a scorched earth policy where we will be creating like task forces to hunt down people that are using bots and have them get banned and all that type of stuff. It's more of just a policy that we'd like to put out to say this is the sentiment of the project, and the community has basically like said like this is what we expect to see, so that all of the good actors out there can say, okay, this is the expectations, I'm going to follow those because I'm a good actor and I want to see the success of the project. We're not trying to basically create any kind of like Spanish Inquisition here or anything like that. So there is that, and I hope that does help to address some of those concerns. And then as far as the timeline on that goes, it's something that we're going to create an official policy proposal for, and then have an actual community vote to have it get approved or not. And that will take time. So we're probably looking at, at least a month or even more until we get to that point. But just trying to put that out there to let everyone know how we're feeling currently on that point, I guess.
Awesome. Bonus points for the Spanish Inquisition reference. It's a good thing that Pyth is no longer the Inquisitor on our server. That could get confusing otherwise. The other thing the other thing I was going to ask you to touch on is pending airdrops.
Right, yes. So, we always have a bunch of airdrops that are going on. I think one of the things I've been asked a lot is atonement stones. What are they? When are they coming, etc. And there will be a few different kinds of atonement stones. Sorry, that's my dog. But we have some that are basically like ready to go that we will be trying to get out ASAP. Other ones we'll have to do a little bit more digging into. There will be greater atonement crystals, lesser atonement crystals. And I think what we'd like to do is basically put out a spreadsheet that essentially says like, here's what it is, here's like the amount that it will give you, and here's all the people that qualified according to our analytics that like we have pulled, and then have that start to be more transparent to you guys as well. But I can say that we are actively working on those right now, and I would expect to see them very soon.
Awesome. And one other point on that, which actually might be a good question for Professor Tango, who's with us anyway, is on the amulet snapshot as far as just a qualifying spreadsheet.
Yeah, that is something that I actually was putting together. I had an issue with my database, so I meant to get that out actually last Friday. I'm hoping to get that out here today or tomorrow, depending on how that looks. But I'll have that out. There's also a couple of others that I believe I owe the community just for transparency's sake on what some of those snapshots are doing. So there will be some things out very soon.
Perfect. Thank you much. With that, we're going to switch over to some of the questions that we have received and gathered. So the first question is going to come from Driz on Discord, the self-proclaimed price discussion jester. Uh, to summarize his question, in essence, it is asking about hero staking or longer term quests. So, for example, being able to set your hero to do a task for a week rather than a few hours, and then you collect at the end of that week. And if that is something that we're looking at adding in the future as we grow. Fox, did you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so I've had a few messages around this as well, and then I think the DFK Devs Discord has also kind of talked about that a lot. What I can say is the current things that you can do with heroes is just a small fraction of what we have planned for heroes. Everyone sees the professions because that's what we have out. But like we have combat, we have like quests, story quests, tournaments, competing for land, and staking has also been like one of those things we've oftentimes brought up as well. So questing as it is right now for the professions quest is really just staking your heroes for a short period of time. And we do have things sort of that we've been brainstorming about that will entail staking them for longer periods of time. In fact, even with this expansion, you'll see some of that as well. And so, yes, we do have many things planned for that. And I think we have a lot of really cool things that we can start to explore to do there. Just the whole concept of like hero NFTs is just so groundbreaking that like there's just so much synergy there that we could do. And I'm just really excited for the future of that.
Agreed. Appreciate the answer on that. The next question comes from John H., also on Discord. Anyone know if there will be a way to change your avatar or name without having to create a new account? Maybe even have other avatars that you can pay a fee in Joule to get. Beetle Dude, did you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Looks like I'm rippling. Cool. Yeah. So this is definitely on the roadmap. There's actually some exciting things coming along with it. Like I've seen some sneak peeks of some new profile picture artwork from our very talented Atlas Parker. I wish I could share those with y'all because they're amazing. So it basically, we have the previous profile pictures that we had in kind of a new style, and then he's also adding some additional picks that you might be able to choose from, and some of those might be some of our favorite items in from the game. And some other special things. So I'm excited. I really wish I could say more about it. But yes, it is on the schedule. The plan is to have that be available for people to update those items. Your profile picture. I haven't heard a ton about updating names, but that's something that I can talk to the contract devs about. Figure out if that's a possibility. But yeah, very excited. I
It
would love
is.
to get
I'll
that
just
out
say that.
ASAP. Okay, perfect. These
Yeah.
arenas.
We'll probably have a NPC that could do that for a fee as well. Also, we will put some policies in place that will be probably voted on. That we just want to make sure that there's no illegal things put in names or anything that's overly offensive or things like that. So I think we probably should create a policy that will have the community vote on for things like that as well, and have the power for admins to kind of require that people to like remove things that are against that policy. But it's a thing that we want the community to drive because we do want to make sure that we're all involved with that.
For sure.
Thanks, Nolan.
Thank you. Appreciate it from both of you. Excited to see that. That'll be really, really fun to be able to mix that up, especially with some of the new PFPs that'll come with it. Our next question comes from Sam Samps. Regarding Joule unlocking protocol, will the unlock be determined via specific block that will not change or be adjusted to fit a specific date? Tango, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can provide some information on that. So originally, when we started this journey and laid out the different epics, the number of blocks that was calculated for each epic was based on a week's worth of time. That does go up and down based on what Harmony's network is doing at the time. So essentially, what we're looking at is each epic has a specific block section. So there's a number of blocks that you have to go through to finalize each epic. And I can't remember if it's epic 51 or 52. Basically, at the end of epic 51, I believe, is when that unlocking begins. And so it's somewhere in the 31 million range, 31.5 million whereabouts. So you can go, and I have the exact number somewhere. I can go, oh, it's right here, 31,470,366. So that's the block that the unlocking will begin. And it's going to hold to that regardless of what the RPC does. Now, if something crazy does happen, we can always look at different options. If those block times turn out to be a week instead of every 2 seconds, that would be a very significant circumstance we'd have to evaluate and see what else we can do with it. But right now, the plan is to hold to that block number regardless of what the network is doing.
Perfect. Thank you much for the clarification on that. Our next question comes from J4X. Eggs. Any thought on adding a market for eggs? Beetle, did you want to share some plans and thoughts?
Eggs. Yes, I do have thoughts on eggs. First of all, why would you want to get rid of your eggs? I mean, there's going to be things coming out of those eggs. Secondly, yes, we do want to try to make a place where we can allow people to kind of trade these items from within the game without having to go outside of it or using kind of the liquidity pools. So I think we've discussed in the past having some sort of an auction house. I think I've heard that this has been talked about before. It is on the roadmap. I'm not sure exactly about the timeline, but we would like to allow that to be done within the game, similar to kind of our tavern and land auctions. I know we have contracts in place that would kind of let us allow people to trade just any arbitrary items via auction. So definitely on the roadmap. I'm not sure about timeline there, but we'll definitely be allowing you to trade your eggs. I do need a green egg, so that would be amazing. I'll be looking on that when it's live.
Yeah, I definitely need more eggs, so that's priority one.
Absolutely.
Our next question comes from Titan Tom. I'm going to summarize his question, but it's essentially just discussing that obviously the farther in we get, our emissions start to go down. That means that our gardens offer lower API or APYs, excuse me. So with those lower APYs, what is our outlook on having a sustainable game economy? What are our plans on that front? I think this one is probably Fox and Tango, maybe a little bit of Dreamer as well. So whoever wants to chime in first.
Yeah, I can take a couple of things here and just mention that, obviously one of the main things that we're working on is our heroes and our questing and various activities that are both rewarding and fun. So, initially as we started this project, the focus was on the decks and on the rewards that are being paid out. But we want to start building this into something that people want to come and play and be a part of and continue to earn rewards. And as part of that, some of the things that we're looking at is how do we continue to make the gardens rewarding even when those APYs kind of dry up and that the initial reward fund dries up. So with the use of gardeners and additional questing and additional levels as we go down, as one example, those gardens could still provide rewards to people who are providing liquidity and also playing the game. And so there are ways for us to continue down that path But also, you know, just one of the obvious things that we're looking at is the expansions as we start going cross chain and discussing different things. I'll let Fox or Dreamer talk to this if they want to, but you know, that's going to provide plenty of opportunities for new pools, new pairings of different tokens, and we can continue to leverage various methods of making the game fun and rewarding as we build out the gaming aspects of it and as we continue to provide new opportunities on new chains. So that's all I'll say.
So yeah, it's a good observation. Just to recap, there may be some people listening that are less familiar with how those APYs are really calculated. So there's three main inputs, right? There's the emission schedule, which it's very transparent, it's been set since the beginning. For a while, you know, that started very high, and there was a drop each epoch. We're actually in a state right now, which it's lower than previous, so maybe some see that as a negative, but we're actually in kind of a stable run right now. I'd have to check and see at when it drops again, but it isn't every epoch. So whereas before, every week that goes by, you're like, oh man, emissions are down, emissions are down. Right now, they're kind of stabilizing. I think there's a couple more drops that will be spread over like a year or so. So there's that. The other piece is the amount that it is funded by. So how saturated the pools are. So the more pools we have, then the rewards are split across. We rebalance pools over time. There will probably be some rebalancing of pools going forward. You know, really, I think we've expressed, you know, our partners get a higher allocation. So I think currently about 50% is at Harmony. And I don't know, 8 or 9% Avalanche. I probably expect Avalanche to get a higher weighting over time, even in the Serendale gardens. The third is the Joule that we get. What is it worth? That is directly related to price. So if emission stays consistent, if pool saturation and allocation stay consistent, but price goes up or down by X amount, the APR is then affected by that amount. So with those three inputs, we don't have ability to change emission schedule. That's very predictable. As pools are more saturated, TVL up, which is good, hopefully, because most of our pools have Joule in them. As TVL goes up, there is correlation with price increasing as well, which should also increase the reward and thereby affecting APR. So if that confused anybody, I apologize, but I want to make sure that everybody understands this is not something that we then go and say, let's drop APR. Beep, beep, boop, 500 to 300. There's those factors that we should all educate ourselves and be aware of. To the point that Tango meant made, we are on the verge of an expansion. The expansion will offer you know, a new schedule, new pools for people to participate in. Some of that may be funded with new money. Some of that may be funded with money that is and tokens that are on Serendale. To go back to my second point with a saturation, you could see pools become less saturated potentially, which may increase APRs. You could see positive price impact by expansion and new demand in Crystal, and most likely as a result, Joule potentially, and with that all else equal, higher demand, and therefore potentially increasing APRs. So this is all like an economical, like speculation around APRs, but they are not flat, they are not set. We have to understand those three inputs and how increased demand could affect the overall APRs, both in Serendale and the upcoming Crystalvale.
Right. I also want to throw in a few words here as well. Epoch is probably the first word I want to throw in, but also just you know, we always get asked about this, and at the start, like we had crazy high emissions to like reward those that were sort of like willing to take that risk to say, hey, here's this unknown project that's brand new. I'm gonna invest in it because I have that faith. And then as we start to get more and more like well known and established, those like rates start to drop because there's a lot less risk involved. And at the point where it's at now, I think there's our planned drop next one is like months away. Basically, it's pretty stable now to where just kind of like staying at the same slow and steady output, but it's basically a lot less risky, and a lot more traditional investors could see that and say, hey, like this is the appetite that I'm looking for here. So obviously the traditional other like Uniswap style dexes that are out there have these tokens that basically don't have a lot of utility around them, other than it just like grows and grows and grows, and there's more and more of them, but no real use. Whereas ours, like with Joule, the trick is to really add utility to it. Like we already have a ton of utility built in in-game transactions and summoning and things like that are essentially burning these, and ensuring that there's a supply and a demand in that equation. So that helps to have like established and I guess like sustained and stable, steady growth there. And then as we have these expansions, you'll see that increase as well. So yeah, there is a lot of thought that goes into it. I think it's a really good sign of the like maturity of the project that we're at the point that we're at now, and the price has stayed pretty like stable and actually slowly grown since the very start of the project. Instead of having like crazy explosion at the very start, and then basically it just sort of like settling into like under $1, which you see on a lot of other projects out there. So we're trying to be something like very different here with the whole play to earn aspect, and I think we'll see really awesome things in the future for that as well.
Very nice. I just want to settle the pronunciation debate. It's now been decided that it's just Tupac, and that way there's just no more debate. Everything is a Tupac. But I'm glad that other people pronounced it Epic, because I've always been very self-conscious about pronouncing it Epic and just avoiding saying it out loud because I had no idea if it was right or not. So with that, I'm going to start inviting some people up onto the stage. I do have one announcement to make real quick as well, but this way we can go ahead and get some people queued up. I'm going to invite people a couple at a time so that we can keep things moving. So when you come on stage, please make sure you're muted and wait for me to ask you to give us your question. So I'm doing that now. And then what I wanted to announce is our second Crystal Vale teaser trailer. It is going live on YouTube whenever Spicy presses the big red button, and she is going to share the link in the AMA voiceless chat, which she just did, and we will get that shared in general and everywhere else as well. But it is live on our YouTube channel now as the second Crystal Vale teaser channel or trailer. If you haven't seen the first one, it's also on our YouTube. Check it out. They were actually made, they have Pogo's music, Pogo custom made music for them, and the animation was actually done by one of the winners of our animation contest, who we ended up contracting to make these trailers. So we really appreciate everybody participating in our contests, and just know it's not only seen by us when we judge them and determine the winners, but it's seen by a very broad spectrum of the team. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Metez, if you want to go ahead and give us your question.
Hey guys, thank you for having me again. I maybe as you understand by now, I'm a quite big of a number guy, and I love everything relating to the math that has gone into the entire part of the gameplay. And today I would like to focus a bit on the specific impact of, or at least what the team's vision is, of the impact of stats of heroes. So specifically, it relates to a few things, my question, but I'll try to be as concise as possible. So currently, we know that the quests that are out right now, as you've mentioned, are only between brackets like professions. And for these profession quests, stats have like about 1/3 of the impact on rewards. But what is the team's vision on stats going forward? For example, in combat, will that be primarily be decided, in fact, by the stat differences between certain heroes, or will stats impact the skills that heroes will have going forwards to PvP? Another aspect of it might be, for example, say you have a pirate with 15 strength and like every stat total numbered, and you have the exact same class, so another pirate of a similar level, but more importantly, with the exact same stats. Will those two heroes be equal in terms of, let's say, combat, let's say, questing? So in general, the question is focused around what's the team's vision about how stats will impact the entirety of DFK gameplay in the future.
Yeah, so I feel bad that Hubert or like Barius isn't up here, because they could answer this probably a lot better than us. But basically, yes, stats will be very important in combat. You'll have the combat engine will basically look at stats to see what are like some of the chances that they could hit or have critical hits or things like that, and then how strong are those attacks, how strong are the skills that they're using, or how effective are like the skills they're using. So yes, it will very much play in a very big way into those. And then also upcoming, like with for example with lands, like we'll have sort of a more of a simplified tournament type of thing there that will basically primarily look at stats to see who can win the opportunity to basically settle those lands. So you'll see stats play a very big part in everything that we're doing probably from here on out, and they already play a pretty big part on professions as well, although everyone's pretty much level 1 to like 5 right now, so there's not a huge amount of disparity, but you'll see that start to show more as heroes start to level up more.
Wow, Fox just dropped major alpha right there. Sorry. That was some huge alpha that just got released. So that's exciting. Metas, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So if I'm allowed to, I'm going to try to poke at 2 more of those ball and set alpha points. Two specific follow-ups, and then I'll leave the stage for other questions. So you mentioned that stats will play a bigger role in professions, or at least in quests. So as the current formulas indicate, at least the formulas for quests that we know, is that it's mostly weighted towards the profession gene. I suspect, at least you hinted at it, and I won't ask anything too specific, but this will probably change with upcoming quests then, I suppose. And then maybe
Yes.
just one other direction with the question was in terms of, if you mentioned combat and you mentioned stats, will the stats be the primary driver of effectiveness in combat, or will stats determine the effectiveness of the skills that the heroes use? For example, you mentioned it determines the percentage of chance to dodge. That's like an indirect driver, but because you still have to dodge, and maybe that's a skill or something. So
Sure, yeah. There will be different kinds of quests. Some of them that are pure combat quests will be a lot more about the effectiveness of the skills that they're using, the effectiveness of like their attacks and their health and vitality, and all that sort of stuff there will play into that in a very big way. As far as other quests go, there are other quest styles that will basically look more at stats in comparison with the other hero and having more of a, not like rock paper scissors type of setup, but sort of like a who has the better stat, who would have the advantage here over the other one. So yes, in like one way or another, stats will play a very big role in most of the things that we'll be doing from here on out.
awesome. I'll maybe just one more tiny follow-up, and I'll actually leave the stage more. Sorry for taking it. Just as a like team's direction, not like an actual formula type of thing. But in terms of the future, will, in the team's opinion, be focusing more on the hero's class as a determiner for specific quests or something, or solely on specific stats, which obviously are influenced by class, but I mean, you probably get what I'm saying.
Yeah, you'll have storyline quests and things like that that could look at classes. The classes are important because of the skill or the stat growth, but also because of the available skills that those classes will have. And currently, you don't really see any of the combat skills, but like those are things that will be like released as well. Every time you currently like level up, you get a skill point, and that is recorded on the blockchain. You are currently earning those skill points, and you'll be able to spend those skill points to upgrade some of your skills. And then also, having the ability to select which skills you want to choose and to sort of like level up will be a big part of that as well.
Awesome. Sounds very exciting.
That is awesome. Thank you, Metas, for the questions. Always very well thought out, and I appreciate it. Space Cowboy, you're up next.
Mic check.
Yep, you're good.
All right, hey, this is Space Cowboy here. So I've been a player and a supporter of DFK since week 2. So I've kind of gotten to see a lot of the game and the community evolution since the beginning. So there have been 6 notable events in DFK's short history that have caused a lot of heated discussion within the community that were either not foreseen, bandied over, or kind of not addressed. And these events have been magnified due to the price action of Joule and the crypto market as a whole recently. So I'm going to just list the events out. So one, the initial one was Sir Sapient selling off his free Mythic Gen 0, and that was addressed by voting the Time Lock heroes number 1 through 19 until July, I believe. Number two, some of the dev heroes were discovered to have advanced and transcendental abilities that hasn't really been addressed. There's been the Sarah and Freya drama. Sarah was a contributor and DFK was partnered with Freyala, and Freya also owns hero number 13 that hasn't really been addressed. Some of the devs won the land snapshots that hasn't been addressed. One of the knights, the prominent mod Shashe, was participating in the level up contest. And then the contest rules were kind of changed under the table to be like first to reach level 10, which was not what the initial rules were announced to be. That hasn't been addressed. And then recently, Flu, the business developer, was promoting a questionable project, a project with questionable background, Holy Grail, that hasn't been addressed. So the question is, with DFK's rapid growth, does the DFK team have or plan to create a code of conduct or employee, contractor, or mod policy to address these events to protect the DFK brand image and also build community trust?
Yeah, no, those are excellent questions. We always encourage asking the hard questions in here because, we as a team are very transparent with our intentions. We always want what's best for the project and for the community as well. So the question of will we release it or create a code of conduct, we actually have one. We've had one since I think like the second or third week since we launched, where anyone who gets sort of like onboarded onto our team has to read a, I don't know, like 20-page document that was written up by Zeno about the expectations of how our team would act. And it has things in there like you can't be involved in other projects, you can't say things that would be damaging to the project or the community. There are just all kinds of things there, like sexual harassment stuff, just all that stuff. And it's more of a core team thing that is internal. But we have had some talks recently about like, should we put this out to the community and say like, here's how our team works, and here's some of the standards we hold ourselves to. With that said, it does draw a line in between sort of what is considered to be on the team and what is a contributor or a like moderator or advisor or things like that. And that's why you see some of those other people like Freya, Sarah, Flu, like all of our knights aren't really sort of held to that same high standard there because of the like relationships that they have, I guess, there. So we do very frequently like want to work with other people who also have other things on their plate as well. And the expectation is you are a contributor, you are a knight or like whatever, but you don't have necessarily the ability to like speak on behalf of the project or on behalf of like our like team or anything like that. So yes, we do have high standards there. No, currently the contributors and like moderators and things like that aren't held to that same standard. And we are currently looking at, like how do we distance ourselves from any kind of risk to the project and all that type of stuff. So I think we will probably be talking about this more. In fact, we just barely spoke about this prior to this meeting in our like leadership meeting. And trying to figure out if like we could create a public facing code of conduct, and if we want to tighten up some of those things with regards to like raffles and snapshots and things like that. The approach early on, which you see a lot of projects doing, is basically like rewarding their devs with in-game items that are special. And that's how we started out with those heroes. And the plan was to also have that for lands as well. But then as we grew and we started to see like, oh, like there's, like we are now in the top 100 coins, like we have to kind of step it up. And so at that point we said, you know what, we said that the core team could get lands. We're going to walk that back and say now like we don't get lands automatically, but if you would still like to participate and stick your jewels into the bank and like do that yourself, you are like welcome to do that. So that was kind of the approach we took there to step back and say, like, let's put you on the same playing field as everyone else instead of having special treatment. And we're at the point now where we're starting to look at, you know what, let's see what we can do to hold ourselves to an even higher standard, and say, like, do we want to make a policy where perhaps the core team members are not eligible for these raffle type things, or eligible for other things like that as well. So stuff like that we're still internally kind of talking about, and I can say that we're all on the same page that we want sort of like what's best for the project at all times. And so whether we create a proposal for the community to vote on, I've always heard from most people that, like, they're like 100% okay with us doing those things because they want their devs to be invested in the game. They want them to be playing the game and experiencing it and seeing the issues and having them get fixed. And there's a lot of pros to that, but there's also, from our standpoint, we just want to make sure that we are above any kind of like reproach. We always want to be on the up and up and be squeaky clean. So if we have to go the extra mile and say, like, we want to show you guys that we are 100% committed to being squeaky clean, which we do, then we might basically push the envelope and go above and beyond anybody's expectations there. So that's where we're at. We are very, very careful and very serious about code of conducts, and always basically like doing what's best for the longevity of the project.
I do want to tag in real quick and just clarify one thing. Our contributors and our moderators do also have a standard that we hold them to and a code of conduct. It's not the same code of conduct or standard as the core team members because of difference in responsibilities, essentially, and difference in who represents what. But there is a standard that we also hold them to. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
100% true. Yeah, sorry for that. But yeah, that is true. Like, any of the knights get onboarded, and our contributors and all that stuff there have their sort of like, here's what's expected of you when you're like out there in the community, and et cetera, et cetera. So yep.
Thank you. I think the proposals for the community are a great idea. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Space Cowboy. And as Fox said, thanks for asking. I mean, that's ultimately, what we're here for, is to answer these questions. Monkey, you're up next.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Yep, we got you.
Awesome. What can we know about pets and eggs, and how close are we to release? Do you have any info for us, or anything you can say right now?
We should really save that for the game mechanics AMA. I feel like we as the devs and like the builders, like we create what they tell us to create, but the direction of that is Various and Hubert and into the timeline there. So I would say you could have a look at the timeline on our site, and sort of how things fall into there. I can say that currently we're very concentrating on some of the combat and expansion things, and pets do play into that a little bit. So yeah, I can't really say any dates or timelines, but we are speaking about them a lot, and we have a lot of plans for them. I know that we had a meeting just, I think it was last week or the week before, that was exclusively about pets and how we're planning on doing that. So there is a lot of work being done there.
Awesome.
Just say,
That
as soon as they give it to me, I'm gonna build it as quick as I can, because I want pets too.
And when
Need it in
Beetle
my life.
does that, it's real quick.
awesome. Thank you, guys. I won't take any more time.
Thank you. Beetle Dude MVP over here. Rocket Man, what's happening today?
Hey guys. So as someone who's kind of like shamelessly a liquid and just got a lot of heroes, I think it'd be really helpful if we added some sort of like swap or trade proposal within the tavern to like kind of trade heroes. So what I've noticed is the market really hasn't caught up to a lot of stuff yet, whether it be, how certain heroes are going to level with certain roles over time, or certain rare heroes. So if there was a way that I could connect with, whether it be in Discord and then you do it through the tavern with certain people that are kind of keen to that, and could kind of, certain people that value certain things, and then we could kind of push forward through with trades and such, I think that'd be very helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the question there? Just
So, is
creating
there?
sort
I
of
guess
a
the question would be: is there any sort of talk, or has there ever been talk about how we, whether we could add a sort of trade or hero swapping functionality within the tavern,
right.
and then as well as the Discord, so we could, hey, I have this hero, but I don't have any jewel I'd like to trade.
Right. Yeah. I think we do have a channel for hero trading, or at least we did at one time. I'm not sure if we've sunsetted that since, but yeah, creating these like aftermarket outlets, I guess, for heroes is, I think, a thing that could be a project that could like potentially qualify for a grant or something, having a hero board, or like want to find this hero, or like want to sell this hero, sort of things. That could be things there. I think the advantage of the in-game tavern is that it's accessible, and it's a easy way to just basically quickly sell or buy heroes. That's not as hands-on. And for those more like nuanced things there, then you might see other sites that are offering services, or community groups that are offering services for that. And from our standpoint, we've always just basically said to be careful, because you have to be careful with who you trust for those types of things. And to your point, will we ever see things in game for that? I think it's a possibility. Yeah.
Okay. Just one more quick question. What, if anything, can you tell us about unknown stats?
Unknown stats. All right. Yeah. So we have some spaces there that are basically things that haven't been announced yet, but are generally relegated to combat, or other integrations with other partnerships out there as well in the future. So there's a few that we're kind of holding close to our chest that we would like to use, or have sort of like reserved for integrations with other projects, sort of like metaverse style. There's other genes there that have already been planned for, and are just kind of like waiting for us to announce and launch some of the systems over there with combat as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Rocket Man. And I did want to just double back real quick to your first question as far as kind of the more direct communication between buyers and sellers. Fox mentioned the Discord channel that has for now been sunset. There have been some talks about trying to bring something back. The main reason that it was sunset, and this has been talked about many times from all angles, but the main reason it was sunset is it really just kind of became the same dozen heroes that their tavern posting was screenshot, and they were just posting it on repeat. So from my standpoint within Discord, to bring it back, what I've been trying to kind of figure out how it could be feasibly done is to have a healthier channel for that, and not just have it become essentially a shill station for tavern listings.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are in terms of from the community aspect on it. I do, think that potentially having something in game would be really cool, maybe a bulletin board at the castle or something. So it is definitely something that's in the works from a couple different angles of different options to get there. But I just wanted to clarify on the Discord side, that's why it was sunset. I am not, and Isla's not. We've talked about it. We're not 100% against having any form of it. It's just figuring out how to actually make it healthy for what it's meant to be.
Got it.
But appreciate the question. Thank you very much. And then we are going to do one last question from Trade for Y, and then we'll close out. We're approaching the hour mark now. Trade for Y, go ahead.
Hey guys, so I have two questions. I guess I'll limit it to one. Try and keep it quick. So I guess it's on the overarching economy. We know that the cost of summoning a Gen 1 basic is going with 10 to 10 summons is going to be 60 joules, right? Assuming that the Gen 0 parents have maxed out their discounted summons. Based on the probability of summons, getting to a Dread Knight, and now I haven't done statistics in a long time, but it feels like you would divide by the probability of advancing over and over, and you get to like a 20,000 Joule number as the fair probable number based on the statistics. If the ecosystem is designed such that the team is trying to attract new players on the lower end of the income scale, is there ever going to be an opportunity or an incentive for the whales with a ton of locked jewels to put their money back into the system? Or are we just kind of capped as the middle class players by the income of the new people that y'all are bringing in?
Okay, so sort of an open-ended question there, but I think the intention is, like, what are some of our plans for the like economics of our game for the future? Is that right?
Um, yeah, I guess the question is really, a lot of the incentives have been for bigger accounts to just stake their Joule, which takes that Joule out of the um, ecosystem essentially, kind of driving down. You can't get max value because if I have a hero that should be worth 2,000 joules, somebody's got to have the 2,000 joules. And those people are really incentivized to lock them in the bank, which means my
Right.
buyer pool has to come from has to drive the price down. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. So, as we grow in player base, the whole economics, I guess, have been set up such that you don't have a surplus of jewels when it's not yet ready for it in the ecosystem. And yet at the same time, like the whole thing with the locking and unlocking is that as we do grow in our player base and as we expand to these other places, you'll see more and more demand for jewels start to come about. And at the same time, we'll have more and more jewels unlocking so that theoretically, they will basically keep pace with each other and increase the economy where the entire economy will grow and there will be more flowing of jewels because there's going to be more available out there. So yes, that is the intent that like you'll see as we grow as a game and as we get more players, you'll see a lot more of a liquid economy out there, and that's the intent of that. As far as the prices themselves, that is a thing that the players set and that like the market will set. I know I'm probably not answering your question explicitly, but it's just like one of those things that we can't really control directly, but we do incentivize the right behavior that we want to see.
No, I agree. You guys incentivize behavior. I guess what I'm saying is there ever going to be an incentive for the whale to take their jewel and not simply lock it, right? Because for every 1,000 joules, you get this, you get that, whatever, right? Whatever the incentives are. Is it ever going to work the other way? And then the second question I had, which I guess maybe hopefully you can touch on really quickly, is in the tavern, we know things like recessive genes matter for summoning, therefore there's some demand. Will we get an interface upgrade that kind of lets us dig deeper into some of the characteristics of heroes without having to go to a third party website?
Yeah, so for your first question, I guess first, will there be incentives for like whales to basically do other things besides staking them? Obviously, we always want to incentivize players to reinvest. That's sort of how like the real world works with the stock market and things. Is that you're sort of incentivized to grow your money. And so, yeah, there will always be incentives for those in the gardens and in the bank and elsewhere. But there's also things that will be like, hey, like in order to play the game and to earn these awesome prizes and to be able to really participate, you will need to have heroes, you'll need to have lands, you'll need to have things out there to create like uh, equipment and like stuff like that, to where a lot of these players that are holding these jewels will say, hey, you know what? I'm having a, a pretty good time like earning amounts from my investment, but I also want to play this game, so they'll like start to spend those jewels and start to like summon heroes and try to have them do quests and enter tournaments and stuff that will cost jewels as well. And so we're always basically like looking for new avenues to provide additional utility for jewels and for all of our other power tokens in the future as well. So you'll see that more and more. There will be more opportunities to use those besides just having them get staked. And then for your second question, for the like recessive genes in the tavern, um, you'll probably see like extensions for browsers and things like that that will augment the like interface of our game. In fact, I think you'll probably see some apply for grants and things too to say, hey, I would like to make this extension that will do this. With that said, we are always looking for ways to improve our user experience. And if there are things like that that would make a lot of sense for us to do internally and like natively, we will for sure do those. And I think that is one of the ones that is high on that list as well.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple times, but I'll throw it out there one more time. I think tavern filters are probably one of the most discussed of what can we keep doing. They're always going to keep growing, and we're always open to more ideas for that. And a lot of the ones that have been added have come from community requests. The summon filter being the most obvious one in my mind. That was something that got highly requested by the community. Now it's there. So same kind of deal there moving forward is that's something that we're always open to. Aside from that, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. I was just going to do a quick roundtable and see if anybody had any final closing comments. Dreamer, did you have anything for us? Maybe not.
Right. Oh, there
Sorry,
he is.
I was multitasking hard. No, I'll just say, reemphasize again. Thank you so much for the comments, the support on the changes for the upcoming program. Please spread the word. Please, think about how you can add to our community, and we look forward to those grant submissions. So thank you.
Awesome. Sunbear?
Yeah, I'll just say the same. Really looking forward to reviewing your grant submissions. And if you know somebody that's got some talent, team up with them. Tell them about the program. Let's do some fun things. Looking forward to supporting it.
Most definitely. Frisky?
Yeah. So I will say that we've got a lot of things that we currently have on the burners, and working very hard on the expansion. We have some really, really cool things to announce there soon, and I'm super excited about them. And then as far as like the play of the game goes, like lands will be a big thing. Hard at work on combat as well, and I'm just like super excited to start to have those come out because that's the part that I really love, is just having that competition aspect of it as well as the guilds and like the social aspect. So yeah, we have a lot going on, and you guys are great. Really, always a pleasure to work here with all of you guys in our community, which I think hands down is easily like the best one out there in the entire space. So yeah, just thank you, and happy to happy to be here and excited for the upcoming few weeks. We've got a lot of big things planned.
Could not agree more. Beetle Dude, got anything for us?
Yeah, got a great community. It's great to be part of the team and hang on to those eggs. Bullish.
Yes. Professor Tango.
Yeah, it feels like I'm just gonna infinitely echo what everyone else has said here. But basically, I love our team. I love what we're doing. There have been several comments about what has been brought up with maybe some contributors or other community members, and just maybe shilling projects that aren't necessarily the best. And the one thing I would say is our core team, the team that is behind all of this and driving it, you'll never catch them shilling anything, pushing anything other than this project. And I just wanted to point that out, that from the inside, having an inside perspective, that's just how it works. We even internally, we're not talking about other projects or other investments. If they're ever brought up, we're just, hey, look at the success this team is having or this project is having. Is there anything that we could incorporate? But we're not in it trying to shill or find the next big thing or anything like that. We're fully committed to this project. We love this project. We love this community. And that's all we ever talk about, is how to make it better. So while you may see people who have been or currently are in some way affiliated with the project, the core team is fully committed to this project and this project alone. So it gives me a lot of hope as I come into work every day and I see that level of commitment from this team, and it's just amazing. And so that's all I'll say about that is I feel very confident in it, for whatever that's worth. Hopefully you find that confidence in us as well. So thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, just to reiterate, you guys are amazing. I could not agree more. Y'all are absolutely the best community around, without a doubt. So thank you for everything you do and for your questions and for being here with us. I meant to go to Frisky last, and I went out of order. My apologies. So Frisky, if you have anything last to add, feel free. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and close out. That was I messed up my order there.
Yeah, no, just one more thing. And yes, I do like going last, just because I don't know, I'm a control freak. But we have great, a like amazing team, but also a great community. But also we have really good contributors. We have really good knights, really good contributors that are out there that are involved with other things sometimes. But we, like they have really done a lot for us as well. So we don't want to feel like we're basically sticking them in the corner like you're on timeout or anything. Like we have really good knights. They help our community run. Without them, we would be sunk. And I think we all owe them a great pat on the back for all the work they're doing there. So just like a big thanks to all of them, and then also to all of you guys. Again, really excited about the coming weeks. We have a lot of big things planned. We're really doing something that no other project has ever done before, and we're going to stay at the forefront of that cutting edge. We aren't ever slowing down. We're just going to keep on going. So yeah, that's it for me. Just want to say thanks everyone for coming, and as always, thanks for the questions, and hope everyone has a really good day and week.